Name on the Wiki TV5 community television. National by up where the one botchet, Nima Wunjabam, Chumukman King, Minnesota. Mishmavision cousin, Diane, Kerr. Been watching National Weekwamkum. Honey Diane, hello Diane, how are you doing?
Annie.
So what brings you to Weekwamkum, Diane? What's happening?
Okay, well, our friend Margaret invited us, and so my husband and I drove all the way here because we heard it was such a wonderful place and we wanted to see Margaret. And some of our other friends from Toronto, I think you've met Hugh, and his sister Kim came up too. And we decided, you know, what would be a good thing we could do for this community? And we thought, what would be really fun, because we all have professional backgrounds, maybe we could volunteer, maybe we could share our gifts here. And so we've been offering services all week to people that includes massage and counseling and gardening and decorating and whatever we could think up.
Excuse me, when you say Margaret, can you give us the last name of the Margaret? What area, where we are here?
You're teasing me, you're teasing me. You know I can't say her last name. So I just say Margaret Pete.
Petawanaquit.
Yes, that's it.
Petawanaquit.
Petawanaquit.
There you go. From Weekwamkum and up on the hill.
Yes, I know we're from Wiki, up on the hill.
Yes, okay. But continue.
I found all the shortcuts pretty quick, I'll tell you.
Well, Weekwamkum is a big community and a lot of shortcuts. Everybody knows all the shortcuts. And if you stayed here long enough, you probably wouldn't know all the shortcuts if you were here for a week.
I probably would, yes.
And all the slang words like Sesame Street and up the hill, without cheeky beak, all those funny words.
All those words, yes.
In the community.
Yes.
So I'm glad that you're here to offer those services. What else do you, I myself visited you and I got a great massage and some good conversation with Hugh.
Yes.
What else do you do?
Yes. Well, we've been, my background is in marriage and family counseling and psychotherapy, and I know that Hugh's background is in counseling as well, and so is Kim's. So we've been offering those services to people. And in all of my loves, like I love gardening, I love cooking natural food, and I love dressmaking and fashion design. So I've been offering in any of those kinds of services. And then my husband is a fabulous handyman. So he can do anything from electricity to plumbing to repairing a back step or whatever. So we've just been here enjoying offering whatever we can offer to the community.
Healthy living.
Healthy living, that's right.
Which I think is important in a small community like this. Can you give us some, maybe some insight on what you see healthy living is dealing with the Creator?
Well, I think the first thing is developing a relationship with the Creator. And there are a lot of misconceptions about I've heard people say, well, my God is not your God, and things. I had a minister tell me that one time. But I believe that there's only one Creator. And we have different names for this Creator all over the world, but really there's only one Creator. And so it's the love of that Creator within the human heart that bonds us and makes us want to follow whatever teachings are sent to us. And I believe that people all over the world are sent different teachers at different times depending on the needs of the community. And so one of the misconceptions I think happens that divides people is when they believe that their teachings are the only teachings, the only right teachings. And we know that that's not right, because God or the Creator didn't promise salvation to just one people. He promised it to everybody because He loves everybody. So it would seem to me that the first step is developing that personal relationship with the Creator and trying to find out what are the teachings that have come to us. And I'm so glad to see that there is a revival in many Native communities of spirituality, and for instance, when I was with the Lakota and they taught me about the white buffalo calf woman's teachings, or when I've been here learning about your teachings, there's a revival, and it's such a wonderful thing. But I also see that people are in conflict sometimes, because there's such a disintegration happening at the same time, and we see our youth who, it's almost like they've lost their way. You know, we're having a rise in suicides like we've never seen before. I remember when I worked on the Manawan Reservation in Quebec, it was the highest level of suicides in the country. And, you know, I can't help but see a correlation, because as we have become more and more distant from God, then the more and more we've experienced this disintegration and these social problems that involve drugs and alcohol and all of the ramifications of that. And so, do we go? I also don't think the answer is to go back into like a really narrow version of reality that served us maybe a long time ago, but needs to expand now, needs to get bigger. It needs to get big enough that it can include the whole world. You know, when they went up in space and they saw for the first time that the planet was just one planet, and they saw that, you know, that changed us. We can never think the same way again. And so it's time now for the family of man to come home. It's time to find the ways that we are one, that we are united, that this is about the time of unity. So to me, it's very clear. We have a choice between unity, choosing unity, or we continue along the way we're going and we end up destroying everything, because that's what's happening. And so it's crucial.
When you speak about unity, I'm thinking about my friends or people in the community. When they ask for guidance, what would you suggest? Let's say you have a personal problem, and they don't want to talk about it. How would you suggest to communicate with somebody or communicate with each other?
Well, I think it's important to turn to someone who has some wisdom. And, you know, one of the things that you have in your community that's so wonderful is you have your elders. You know, those people have been through a lot. They know a lot. And a lot of them remember those teachings, you know, in their pure form. And so those people are there for a reason. And, you know, it's important to turn to them. I mean, that's what they're there for.
They've been there.
They've been there, they've done that, you know, they've bought the Kool-Aid. So they know what it's about.
They've had relationship problems, marital problems, or any kind of situation, financial problems.
Right.
Young people are finding very, very stressful.
Right.
And if you talk to people like that in the community, they give you ideas how to handle them. Can you elaborate more on that?
Sure. Well, I can tell you that when I was in Saskatchewan living I can just talk about my own personal experience. You know, when I was young, I was in my 20s, and I was living on Pasquak. And I met an old man there. His name was Tom Pigan. You know, that man changed my life. You know, he taught me, he took me under his wing, put up with all my shenanigans, you know. And I felt so blessed to have somebody like that in my life, who cared about me and who cared about what happened to me, and was willing to teach me spiritually.
This was a Cree elder?
Yes, a Cree elder, yes.
From Saskatchewan?
Yes. And, you know, these are important people, and I feel like the youth today, they're depriving themselves in some way from that wisdom. And also Tom was a Baha'i, a member of the Baha'i faith. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot from Tom about the Baha'i faith. And
when you say the Baha'i faith, does that mean he followed that way of life, or faith, as well that he did? As well as
he was very traditional. But
he went to Sweat Lodge.
Yeah, Sweat Lodge, all that. He was a champion dancer. He toured Europe and everything as a dancer, you know. But so he was very traditional, but he was also a Baha'i, and so I learned a lot to understand the Baha'i teachings from his point of view was very enriching, very important. Mm-hmm. And the main thing about the central core of the teachings of the Baha'i faith is all about unity. Mm-hmm. But unity, you know, a lot of people, when they hear that word unity, they think, okay, so what's that mean? We're all going to look the same? We're all going to be the same? That's not unity. You can't have unity and have conformity like that. Mm-hmm. Okay? So unity really means the unity of diversity. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you go out in the woods, if all the trees were the same and looked exactly the same, it would be a very boring forest, and it would lack all the cultural diversity that you need for it to sustain itself. Well, the world of people is the same way. And so by understanding and honoring our differences, you know, it's like I don't need to become Indian because then I'm robbing you of what I can share from my culture. You see? But I can totally respect the Indian way and honor it and cherish it and want to protect it because it's so vitally important, you know. And also in the Baha'i writings it says too that the North American Indians, because they have the quality of vision and because of the quality of their hearts, that as they become educated in spiritual matters more and more and more, that they will lead the world spiritually.
I've heard that before.
You know? And sure you have.
I think that's in the prophecies.
I think so. And I think it's true. And so, you know, not only is your culture important for you, but it's, from where I'm standing, it's very important for the whole world. You know.
As a young person, and I'm speaking for some young people that I know, friends of mine, when they encounter family problems or just personal problems, what would your advice be to step up to somebody and ask, to talk to somebody, to get it out? What would you suggest?
Yeah. You know, I think that there's more and more help out there. You know, you have it here with your elders, like I said, but there, you know, people, we all need each other. And you see what's happening in this society is that we're becoming more and more isolated. You know, I mean, all we have to do is, like, you know, we'll go on Facebook and hang out and get involved with video games and
pass the time, yeah, not dealing with the problem.
That's right. And then we don't, you know, then the problems grow. So now I'm just going to go party because what else is there to do, you know? And so I think everybody is involved in a search in their lives.
It's a lifelong.
It's a lifelong search. And the thing is, we all need each other. That's how it is.
The bottom line.
It's the bottom line. And so, you know, when I was in Africa, for instance, and I was living in that African community, what amazed me was how the children in this little community played with each other. Because their parents were so involved with survival, had to worry so much about, spend so much time with survival, they didn't have time to spend a lot of time with the kids. So when you watch the kids all looked after each other and nurtured each other and shared with each other and played with each other. And the biggest way that those kids would try and get recognition, you know, from elders or parents was in service. If they could do something to serve, that they would compete for that, you know. And I thought, wow, this is pretty amazing. And it's because they haven't been polluted by, they don't have TVs and they don't have video games, they don't have, you know. So I'm not saying that we can do that, but community is very important. And one of the reasons I'm a Baha'i is because there are Baha'is all over the world, in every country and in every island and in every forest. There are Baha'is. And so I travel a lot, and wherever I go in the world, I can look up the Baha'is and I have immediate family. You know, I have people I know, I have goodwill, I know they're not going to try and convert me to anything, I know that they're going to be honest with me, and I know they're going to be welcoming and loving. And so anywhere I go in the world, my family is there.
In every city, town, village.
Anywhere.
That's good to know. I guess like guidance. When you're praying, you ask them for guidance.
Guidance, that's
sometimes
right.
you get that right away, and sometimes you'll get it next week, or you know.
And sometimes it won't be the way you want it to
Exactly.
be.
Yeah.
It won't be the answer you're asking for.
It seems it's universal. Our way of
universal.
life, the culture that our Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi, the Three Fires Confederacy.
Yes.
I'm speaking of, and the Baha'i faith seems to me it's universal.
It's universal.
In some ways.
It is. And that's where it has an affinity, because the truth, there's only one truth. It just comes in many forms. Just like, you know, light. If you love light, whether it comes in a candle or in a lamp or in this kind of a light or the sunlight, if you love light, you're going to recognize the light no matter where you are. And the outer form of it may be different, you know? But if it's the light, it's the light that you're looking for. And so you know, one of the things that I love about the Baha'i faith too is the sense of independent investigation. That, you know, this is considered the age of spiritual maturity, like where we're becoming spiritually mature now. And so we don't have clergy in the Baha'i faith. And the reason is because it's up to the individual to make this connection with the Creator. And we have the messenger, you know, in every age and every culture there's different teachers that come from God. And one of the ways I see that is like, to use a very simple analogy, is if you can imagine that we're all in school and you have the grade 1 teacher and the grade 2 teacher and the grade 3 teacher, and it's really interesting because like the grade 1 teacher will say, okay, well the grade 2 teacher is coming and you know, he's going to look like this and he's going to have this and he's going to have that. And when the grade 2 teacher comes, he doesn't quite look the way we understood the first teacher to tell us, you know, and so we go, no, I'm going to stay in grade 1. No, I'm not going into grade 2. You know, and we see that happening all over the world. But basically, as we evolve, you know, we start to learn these new teachings that come at each age. And so, in this age, the teacher that we have now is Baha'u'llah. And that word means the glory of the Father.
Can you repeat that?
Baha'u'llah.
Baha'u'llah.
Baha'u'llah. And that was like 165 years ago, and he was a prisoner for 40 years. And what he did during that time was reveal over 100 volumes of teachings for today. And so you'll find those spiritual truths that we talk about in those writings, but you'll also find more information that we've never seen before. Like they even touch science and touch life after death, you know, questions that we've had for ages about dying. And this is a huge, gigantic revelation. And it doesn't discount any of the revelation. In fact, Baha'u'llah says, if you don't love those other prophets, those other teachers that came before, you cannot be a Baha'i.
You have to be understanding and universal.
Exactly.
And love the universe.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. And I'll tell you, you know, it is about love. That's what it's all about. And if there isn't love, then you know there's something wrong with those teachings. And
going back to, Margaret's suggestion with the tobacco in your left hand.
Yes.
And making contact with the Creator.
Yes.
How do you say his name?
Well, Baha'u'llah is his messenger, but when if I want to pray to the Creator, I pray to the Creator.
Yeah, and the same as Indian people like myself. When I pray to the Creator, I take tobacco in my left hand and I talk to him. They call him Jemnido.
Yes.
In my language, and that's how I learned that. That's how I was taught.
Yes.
And I guess the same way when you connect with the Creator, it's the same person, it's just a different name.
Exactly. It's exactly it. And so, you know, one of the things I find so fascinating is when I was out west years ago, you know, so many of the Indians there, because of their prophecies and so on, when I would tell them about the Baha'i faith, they already spiritually knew all about it. It wasn't any big news to them, you know? In fact, I'll tell you a story. I remember when I was in, I forget what reservation it was.
You know Jim Iron Eagle there?
Yes, I do, and he's traditional. He was traditional and a Baha'i, you know. But what was interesting is I remember going to some reservation, I can't remember which one it was, and I was with a friend, and the chief had invited us to his home. He said, come to my home at 8 o'clock and talk about the Baha'i faith. So we get there, and the house is packed. And so he says, go sit in the living room, right? So we go sit in the living room, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're thinking, what the heck is going on? And you know, he just was ignoring us in the living room. We were there for about an hour. Finally, he peeked his head around the corner, and he said, are you tired of waiting it? And he said, yeah. And he said, well, we've been waiting for 100 years. Where have you been?
That's a good story. That's interesting. You know other people out west that you mentioned, the pagan family.
The pagan, yeah.
And they're Cree.
They're Cree, yeah.
Jim Iron Eagle.
Jim Iron Eagle, yes.
These people have been to this community. The pagan family, in fact, came here in 1963 to help us learn our songs and dances.
Nice.
Last Jocko family that organized the powwow in 1963 brought in the pagan family. The name was Bill Pagan and family to teach the Indians here how to sing and how to dance.
Right.
And back in 1961, from my research that I did the video on, they brought in people from Saskatchewan to come and remind us how the songs and
how
dances
to go, yes.
kind of revived it.
Yeah.
Because we were so brainwashed by, well, not us as in people, our grandfathers and grandmothers, because of the residential school, you know, you know that era.
Yeah.
But I just want to remind people that, you know, that's why those kind of things happen. It's a time period, you know. There's nothing we can do about it. It happened, you know. And, and some of it is not all that bad. My mom and my dad were brought up, you know, in the church, and that's okay. They disciplined me that way.
Right.
You know, they have discipline. A lot of our children have been disciplined that way. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just sometimes some people have experiences, I'll call them.
Right.
Can you elaborate on that sort of thing?
Well, I think that there's been so much pain and suffering, you know. Yeah, I'll tell you about when I was running a healing racism forum with this friend of mine, Medicine Hair, who's a Lakota fellow. His father's Harry Chargers, famous medicine man out there. And so he asked me if I would run this thing. And so this medicine man from Oklahoma wrote in, and it was a scathing letter, and he was saying, you know, scathing, like really cutting letter, you know. He said,
can you
well, like,
explain that, what that means?
Well, very tough letter. Like he was saying, you white people, you know, you better go back to Europe and and don't ever ask us for help, because you know, we helped you once and we're just going to crush you underfoot, and when the world collapsed, don't count on us, you know, and all this stuff. And I had just started there. I was new, and there was a lot of Indians on that forum. And so what happened was they're all sitting back waiting to see what's Diane going to do now. How is she going to answer this letter, you know? And basically what I said is what I really believe, and that was that I am glad you had an opportunity in this forum to express that anger and hurt. Because that anger and that hurt has got to come out, first of all, you know, because it can't be any healing unless it can come out. And second of all, you know, as white people, we got to learn to listen instead of getting all defensive and go, oh, not me, I don't, you know, wasn't me, wasn't, you know. The heck with that, you know. We need to like listen and really empathize and get what the pain is about, first of all, you know, because there's real reason for that pain. I mean, some really terrible, horrible things happen. And
that's why people drink or do alcohol.
Of course, and it creates, you know, when you take away people's religion and their language and their culture and everything else, it leaves a big hole.
Their identity.
Their identity is gone, so what are they going to do? They're going to have to fill the hole somehow, whether it's with drugs and alcohol or whatever, you know? And so that was my first thing I said to him. The second thing I said to him, but on the other hand, too, we have to, I'm sorry, but we got to hold hands and walk to the dawn together. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is, you know? And we both have to learn from each other. But that's part of the process. And we're like right at the edge of dawn in history. You know, the first rays of the sun are just beginning to show through now. And so we got to all get there together. You know, that's the way it is. We each have been given gifts by the Creator. And it's when we come together and share these gifts that everything will make sense. It's like that's the mending of the hoop, you know. But in order to do that, we got to have the Creator's help. We haven't been able to figure out how to do it ourselves. So only the Creator has the magic, the healing remedy to bring us together and to heal the wounds and create the beauty that I think the world we've always dreamed about for centuries. We've all dreamt about what peace on earth would be like someday. Well, the only way we can achieve it is through the help of the Creator. And to me, the Baha'i teachings, you know, it's like Baha'u'llah was the divine physician, and humanity is on its deathbed. And Baha'u'llah came, and all the other doctors were saying, no, you can't get near the body, you can't get near the patient. But he did, and he could tell exactly what was wrong, what the malady was, and here's the prescription, here's the remedy. And that's what those teachings are. It's like the remedy for the illnesses of civilization as we know it. And it's what we need to take us into the next level.
Very good.
Would you like to hear a prayer of Baha'u'llah's?
Sure.
Because sometimes the words of the of the messenger are more important than my words.
Sure. Can you put one out there?
I will.
That will...
I like to open it wherever it wants to open.
Sure.
You know?
That will work.
O thou provider, thou hast breathed over the friends in the West the sweet fragrance of the Holy Spirit. And with the light of divine guidance, thou hast lit up the western sky. Thou hast made those who were once remote to draw near unto thyself. Thou hast turned strangers into loving friends. Thou hast awakened those who slept. Thou hast made the heedless mindful. O thou provider, assist thou these noble friends to win thy good pleasure, and make them well-wishers of strangers and friend alike. Bring them into the world that abideth forever. Grant them a portion of heavenly grace. Cause them to be true Baha'is, sincerely of God. Save them from outward semblances, and establish them firmly in the truth. Make them signs and tokens of the kingdom, luminous stars above the horizon of this nether life. Make them to be a comfort and a solace to humankind, and servants to the peace of the world. Exhilarate them with the wine of thy counsel, and grant that all of them may tread the path of thy commandments. O thou provider, the dearest wish of this servant of thy threshold is to behold the friends of the East and the West in close embrace, to see all the members of human society gathered with love in a single great assemblage, even as individual drops of water, collected in one mighty sea, to behold them all as birds in one garden of roses, as pearls of one ocean, as leaves of one tree, as rays of one sun. Thou art the mighty, the powerful, and thou art the God of strength, the omnipotent, the all-seeing.
Very comforting. Poems or readings like that, I think, really make a person dream or see the universe
Yes.
as the creator.
Yes.
Comes closer to you,
Yes.
to your inner self, I think.
I think it's our hidden desire in our heart too, isn't it? To see all of us as drops of one ocean, or, you know, leaves of one tree. I mean, it's been my dream all my life.
Very good.
Yeah.